I want to ask you about this topic we were just talking about, Chris Krebs, a man who was responsible for trying to keep at least outside interference and cyber interference out of our election. He told people last week he thought he was going to get fired, and then last night, in typical fashion, he got fired by tweet for doing his job. The president directly contradicted him, saying he was wrong about what he said. This election was not safe. Votes were changed. Votes that were cast for Trump became Biden votes, and Chris Krebs is now no longer there. What do you make of this?
Well, I mean, a couple of things. I mean, in terms of Krebs himself, I feel like it's worth reflecting on the fact that I don't know that there is anybody else who has served, particularly at a high level in the Trump administration, who has come out of it not just with an enhanced reputation for having done a job very well and done right by the country and taken something that was very, very difficult that other people have had a really hard time with and sort of nailing it, doing it well, but also leaving not just with this badge of honor of being fired by the president for having done his job well, but leaving without having compromised himself, without having bit his tongue, without having kowtowed to the president or compromised himself in any way that was trying to either stave off himself being fired or trying not to rock the boat or trying to go along to get along, which so many good people have fallen prey to, because that's the way the president manipulates people and gets what he wants. And so I think Chris Krebs is being lauded justifiably by people on all sides of the ideological spectrum and all levels of government for having done a really good job. But he also really, in some ways, stands alone in terms of having done well and done right and not having bent himself to the vagaries of this president. I think that's really important. I will also say, though, Ali, that I think there's an institutional thing to watch out for, because part of the reason we started talking about Krebs potentially being fired last week was when a divisional chief at CISA got fired. Then Krebs himself got fired. His deputy also got fired. What's happened is this agency has been decapitated. And that has a couple of risks. One is that the CISA doesn't just work on election security. They are responsible, for example, for protecting vaccine researchers from what appears to be a robust international malign effort to interfere with and steal vaccine data by actors like, potentially North Korea, Iran, Russia. That's really important. We reported in recent weeks on hospitals being hit with ransomware attacks, Russian-speaking gangs from the former Soviet Union hitting U.S. hospitals in the middle of this pandemic with ransomware attacks and locking up their computer systems. That's also within CISA's remit. We need an agency that's good at that stuff. But also in terms of the election, I mean, there are votes still being counted. There are recounts happening. There are certification tallies that are coming up. And people, including senators on the Intelligence Committee, have warned that this is one of the times when we are quite vulnerable to disinformation and potentially foreign interference, as somebody might target the understanding of the American people to try to confuse us and upset us and muddy the result of the election now as it is being finalized and finally tabulated. And so to have CISA, which Krebs ran so well, not just to have him ousted, but to have the whole upper echelons of the agency taken out for these reasons at this time is very dangerous for lots of different reasons. And I'm very, very uncomfortable with not just what this means for Krebs, but what the implications are for our national security.